sir. Peter Semler with Capital Intel Group.
Nice to meet you.
We're early adapters of your blockchain technology as a news service. My question to you, and we develop in Tunisia, when will blockchain be like, do you have email? We're almost there, right?
That depends on the application, right? Because, like I said, it can transform every industry, and guess what? That's not going to happen overnight, right? It'll take time.
Yeah.
But in certain pockets, financial service and supply chain is here and now.
Yeah.
I can see, like food.
Food, yeah. And you got Maersk shipping. My guy Digital Asset does the Australian Stock Exchange. Anything of value that can be transferred should be on blockchain. Anytime you put anything of value off blockchain, isn't that insecure?
No, I wouldn't say that.
But almost.
The way to think about it, there is a cost to doing things on a blockchain. So you got to be intelligent about what you put on the blockchain.
Yeah.
And what you put off-chain too, you can do it do it such that you still make them secure. I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
In the GTD solution I talked about,
Yeah.
we do all the paperwork, customs paperwork on the blockchain.
Yeah.
The documents themselves, by the way,
Yeah.
off-chain. Like there is digital fingerprints of it on-chain. So that every time you do something to the document, like you do.
Oh yeah, because you can't change your document once you put it in. So for us, it's like a real-time. It's like a real newspaper.
The fingerprint can't be changed. So therefore, what you do is, when I go to approve a document, if the document is outside,
Yeah.
I can check did the fingerprint match. If it doesn't match, then the document will happen. So effectively, what I'm saying is, off-chain data can also be trusted because you have a fingerprint on-chain.
On-chain. So, because what we've seen is over 30 years, the whole security, the whole pyramid of internet, because when we did it like 25 years ago, email was secure, people read it. Now, nothing's secure. I mean, people are getting spam, phishing. Extreme?
No, see, that way, nothing is secure, even with a blockchain, I would argue.
Yeah.
The reason, it's all a question of degrees. I think blockchain is a quantum leap compared to other methods.
Yeah.
But still, at the end of the day, it's software.
It's software, yeah.
And there are human beings on this planet.
Okay, but it's new because like I develop in Tunisia has become like a blockchain, the center of IT development for all of Africa. They're starting from scratch, they're new, and they're taking the technology on as a first mover rather than here it's harder, right? The developers have to change over. You're probably getting $300,000 to develop for Uber for dogs, so doing blockchain is more difficult, no?
Yeah, blockchain, there is, I would say, not lack of talent, no question in this domain, but as the path we're on is going to get very important in all industries. Yeah. Naturally, people will gravitate towards it. Yes, there could be some short-term difficulty with resources and stuff, but longer term, this is a tsunami that's not going to be stopped by anyone.
Yeah. Okay, so the future is now. So anybody who's I was looking at the guy at Coral Health. I mean, he should already have medical records on blockchain. That makes sense. You want to keep them secure.
The key thing is technology is the easy part, right? So for example, if that gentleman wanted to do something healthcare, what he had to do is ensure that he works with a minimum viable ecosystem. Just like, for example, food trucks, we work with. Right? You've got to get the governance right so that you're willing to play.
And the trusted now.
That doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah, because
technology is months.
Yeah,
this can be a year.
Yeah, but we're rebuilding. It's rebuilding trust. That doesn't happen overnight. Once you lose the trust, to rebuild trust in your community is hard to do. And it's just about trust, which is like the most simple thing in the world.
And if you truly trust, if there is a lot of trust already inbuilt in society, there's no need for a blockchain.
Yeah, but
it's the trust gap that leads you to a blockchain.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
My pleasure. That observation, another key point of blockchain technology is you can have business logic on this shared trusted data across a bunch of people's systems. And that is what people typically refer to as smart contracts. Those are sort of the two key concepts that basically we need to know for the rest of the presentation. Now, when we started working in the space, clearly based on this very simple observation, it will transform all industries. That was clear to us. In fact, over the last couple of years, we've done 500 plus projects, with various clients and across all industries, and all of them are based on the IBM blockchain platform, which is a technology layer that's based on the Linux Foundation's open source Hyperledger project. Very specifically, we realized that early on too that supply chains is going to be a key place where there are many handoffs between businesses. Right? Think of a simple farm to fork scenario, right? That And so we decided to focus there. When you think about supply chains, I would like to normally think in terms of the three flows that happen. On the one hand, there is the flow of physical goods from the supplier all the way to the ultimate buyer from left to right. At the same time, there is the flow of money in the opposite direction from the ultimate buyer all the way to the supplier. And then finally, there is a third flow, the flow of information, think of purchase orders, advance shipment notices, and so on and so forth. Information that goes back and forth between participants that lubricates the first two flows, the goods flow and the money flow. In this talk, I'm going to focus primarily on efficiencies that can be had with blockchain in the goods flow as well as the information flow. It is true that even the money flow, there's plenty of work going on with respect to trade finance, supply chain finance, payments, and so on and so forth, but that will not be the focus of our meeting. So next what I want to do is pick two solutions that we have worked over the last couple of years and walk you through some of the key ideas in there so you get a very good sense of what can happen in the supply chain. The first one is called Global Trade Digitalization. This is a joint collaboration with Maersk, the ocean carrier, and this solution is running in production with about 5 million containers on the system today. Global trade is fairly big, right? $16 trillion worth of cross-border trade happens every year. 80% of anything that you and I go and buy in the store, chances are it came in one of those steel containers. Televisions to soccer balls to tennis shoes to strawberries or blueberries from Chile, for example, right? All of them typically tend to go through the ocean shipment route. The global trade digitalization solution that we have created with Maersk tries to bring all the participants in the ecosystem. So think of various parties in the movement of a container from one end to another, right? From source to destination. You have inland transportation companies, you have ports and terminals, you have customs authorities, you have freight forwarders, you have the carrier itself, right? All of them bring them into one platform, a neutral platform where they can share information, the trusted, permission information sharing we talked about earlier. Now in this platform, in terms of there are two key capabilities we've added to it at this point. Thought process is once you have the platform, others, third parties could put value on top. But we started or seeded it via IBM Maersk, that is, with two capabilities. One is called shipping information pipeline, and the other is called paperless trade. I'll describe what they are shortly. So the shipping information pipeline, plays in the physical goods flow that I talked about earlier, right? It keeps track of all the information related to the container movement from source to destination. The container arrived at the port. It was loaded onto the ship. Those sorts of events are captured. Individual actors who are handling the container at that point send that information to the system, right? That's the shipping information pipeline. Paperless trade, on the other hand, deals with the other flow which I talked about, the flow of information. Think of the customs paperwork to the international trade. You get the picture. Bill of lading, all sorts of documents are involved typically. The entire workflow around documents associated with the shipment is captured as a smart contract, like I mentioned earlier, on the blockchain. That's what the paperless trade component does. So those are the two key applications that we have built, and we're hoping others will build an application further on top. So to see how this changes things, let's think of the following scenario. Imagine a farmer in Kenya who's shipping avocados to a retailer in the Netherlands. By the way, this is a real example that we did work for the years. The farmer typically spends about a couple of $1,000 for the actual container shipment. And the number of actors involved in the shipment itself could be several tens of entities and about a couple of hundred documents. So you can imagine the complexity, right? Much of this complexity, the farmer would probably rely on a freight forwarder or somebody else to do it for them. And even though the container shipment, physical shipment costs a couple of $1,000s, the actual paperwork could be upwards of $400, right? 20%, significant inefficiencies. So what we do with the paperless trade is capture the entire workflow in a smart contract. Effectively what this means is you start with, okay, the trade lane is Mombasa to Rotterdam. the product is avocados, that will instantiate a smart contract or a workflow that, when executed, will do the end-to-end process completely in an automated digital fashion, right? Significant savings. For shipping information pipeline, let me give you another example. Imagine, CPG, a typical container shipment. Since there are many players touching it, you would have many charges in the invoice. For example, there's something called a demurrage charge, which is for storage of the container at the port. Today, about 5% of what is in the invoice is considered to be inaccurate based on our conversation with several clients. Effectively, what is going on here is it is very hard to find out if you can trust the invoice or not. But with the shipping information pipeline capability, all the events, like I said earlier, is in the system. The ports themselves upload it, the gating of the container, the upload of the container onto the ship, and so on and so forth. So therefore, you can know exactly how long the container was at a certain port or terminal, and therefore you can actually automate the entire invoice process. Significant benefits to the ecosystem. So those are sort of two examples just to make the point in terms of with the global trade digitization solution, we are making significant improvements in the global trade ecosystem. Okay. Next, I want to move to the second solution, which you heard a little bit about in the panel earlier, and frankly honest from Walmart is up here. This is the IBM Food Trust solution. What we are trying to do here is create for the food ecosystem a trusted permission information sharing platform. Right? It includes everybody in the ecosystem, so not just the growers, the packers, the shippers, the suppliers, the retailers, the restaurants, the food logistics companies, the food service companies, and not least of which, the consumer itself. The goal is all about trust and transparency in the food ecosystem. And the platform with this information sharing not just solves a simple traceability problem, but solves pretty much a large number of problems in the food supply chain, like waste, it could be food fraud, could be food freshness, and so on and so forth. So that's basically what IBM Food Trust is trying to do. What is it today? It's essentially a platform. The IBM Food Trust Core is the platform for sharing, and we have 3 applications seeded here, very similar to what we saw in the earlier case, right? We have 2 applications we seeded in the global trade digitization solution. One such application is the trace application, which allows you to trace from farm to store, if you will. So if there is a problem, let's say think of strawberries, if there's a problem, you may be able to trace back to exactly where in the supply chain a problem occurred, and not just trace backwards, but also trace forwards in the sense, once there's a problem, you want to know exactly all the places in the supply chain downstream where inventory of the product is going to be taken off, right, in a surgical fashion. So that's one example of what we've built in the system. Now, and this has been mentioned about earlier, what we did with the IBM Food Trust solution, and we started almost a year plus ago, was ask a simple question, right? If you open a Walmart store, and by the way, this is jumping down with Walmart, you open a Walmart store, pick up a packet of sliced mangoes, how long, where exactly did this, package come from? How much time does it take to figure that out, right? And essentially, we did a sort of head-on comparison of the old and new ways, and using IBM Food Trust, what we were able to show us a significant benefit in terms of the time it takes to, trace back. Now, this is a big deal. Let me try to argue why. In 2006, there was a spinach outbreak in the United States, right? 199 people were affected. There were 199 cases, 26 states. There was a countrywide recall. And much later, when all was said and done, it was figured out that the entire problem was due to one lot in one farm, one day somewhere in California. But the industry itself is affected for 6 to 7 years. Right? So if you could do a surgical recall, it would make a huge difference. Now 12 years have gone by, and we had a similar problem just 2 to 3 months ago. In fact, just yesterday I was reading somewhere that this is the Salmonella summer. Okay? So we have these issues, and much of it, and I would argue, if the spinach or the romaine lettuce supply chains at scale were on the IBM Food Trust solution, the outcome would have been very different. Now, to get to the IBM Food Trust at scale, like I just mentioned, there are challenges, right? But much of the challenge is to do with the fact that you need to the various participants are sending us information. They need to process changes in their internal systems to send us information. The retailer, the supplier, the farmer, in the strawberry supply chain, for example. Now, that can be challenging and expensive. But the good news is, based on what I've seen with suppliers and retailers who are already in the IBM Food Trust system, the way in which they've done the sort of changes within internally to send us the data gives me confidence that while this is a challenge, it can be overcome, which is a very good thing. So we can do it. So I talked about traceability, but I want to talk about a couple of related aspects also, right? Freshness. Freshness is all about perishable products like fresh beef or strawberries or whatever, which last for 14 to 20 days perhaps, at high velocity moving through the supply chain and getting to the end consumer with significant residual freshness, right? So that's the name of the game. With the IBM Food Trust solution, using exactly the same data that is sent to allow traceability from the store, we are able to pinpoint problems within the supply chain and corrective actions. For example, strawberries that are harvested later because they are subject to temperature stress through the supply chain could be rushed through ahead of berries that are harvested later. You can do things like that because you have that visibility into what's going on in the supply chain. Finally, food fraud. That too, if you can get primary source data into the IBM Food Trust blockchain, you can solve the problem also, right? It's a $10 to $15 billion problem in the United States today. Think of organic food, right? Some people say that more organic food is consumed than is produced. Clearly somebody's paying too much, right? Not just that, sometimes horse meat is sold off as beef. Right? So these are all problems where you can get primary source data with the system. We believe that things can be changed. So all of these examples I gave you, whether it be global trade or food trust, you will notice is all about trusted information sharing within the supply chain. And supply chains are perfect for these sorts of problems because the multiple handoffs, it's not just a one-step, direct business relationship. Okay. So I talked about what we did with the Mango pilots and all the work since then. Much of what we've been doing since the pilot almost a year ago in May of 2017 is work with key players, and you see the names up there, in the ecosystem. The main focus of the work has been on trying to get the product right? IBM Food Trust, what capabilities do we need in there for trace and other applications, right? For us and for third parties to build. Number two, it's all about the business model, ensuring that everybody gets something out of the system, right? And the third piece has been around governance, getting the governance right. Now, governance is probably one of the most important things for a typical blockchain solution like this because it is, after all, I said, a data sharing platform. You've got to make sure that everybody's comfortable with the data that they're uploading and people have the right level of rights in terms of what they can do with the data, access to the data, etc. So hopefully in the last 15 to 20 minutes, I'll try to convince you with these two examples that supply chains are not going to be the same again. With blockchain, it will take time, but things are going to change dramatically in the supply chain because this, I think, solves a fundamental information sharing problem that supply chains have suffered for years and years and years. And finally, I'll end with this thought. Those two solutions you saw, global trade visualization and IBM Food Trust, I view them as really laying the foundations in those two supply chains for entirely transforming the space. It's analogous in my view to laying concrete for the interstate highways or laying fiber optic cables for the internet. Thank you.